Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another episode. How do you avoid FX charges when traveling? That's the question for today. And a lot of people have asked that today. A lot of people have asked that over the last few days. And it's a good opportunity to bring this out. If you're just joining the channel, I'm Patrick, the CEO of Orukka Smart Rings. I do this every day. Again, we have smart rings. So we do payments on, so tap to receive. So you don't need your wallet, you don't need your phone with these things anymore. All you have to do is just tap, make a payment and go. There's a lot of applications here. If you don't like your wallet, you can do this. If you're minimalist, you don't like your bags, wallet, and going for a wrong, use this. If you go out for dinner, social events, concerts, you can use this as well. So we have a lot of customers across the world. Okay, we're fintech, we're not a bank. So what that means is we work with a lot of banking partners, but we try and accommodate everyone from every country. So do join us, download the app, and order the ring on www.ruka.com. So for today, I think we'd like to discuss a customer query that came through my desk. Again, these things I try and answer questions that come, Q&A format. Also, just talking about general topics that I think my customers want to hear. And it's my way of connecting with my customers. So the question now becomes, how do you avoid effects? So here's the point. We travel a lot these days. The world is a global world. That means we travel a lot more than we did. We travel a lot more than our grandparents. We travel a lot more than our great grandparents, even more, right? So previously, in terms of how many people were in the sky at any point in time, it wasn't up to a million or two, right? Right now, the amount of people on the sky, I think it was estimated at the 5 million per day, across just the US, USA, and Canada. Just crazy. You can look this up as well. So the amount of people flying these days is just crazy. Such that it's now important to start looking at how you save money. It's a good question. How do you save money with fees? Here's a short answer, and we can talk about the long answer, right? And here's the short answer is be careful and always go local. Local is the key. Local, LOCAL, in case you don't understand what we're saying. It has to be key. If you have a choice, stay local because that's the cheapest way. Otherwise, your bank charges you fees. And I talked about how banks make money. You can look this up across my videos. So banks make money when you travel out. And I said this already, your bank might be free. And that's because they know, based on your profile, you're going to travel at some point. And when you travel, if you look at the typical person traveling, say $2,500, if you take that to £2,500, doesn't matter what currency. It doesn't matter what bank. If you travel and you take, say, 2005, okay, now, your foreign exchange. So if you travel out, your foreign exchange fee will be about, for taking euro money, that 2005, to convert it into a foreign exchange or any currency at all, will be about 1% to 2%. Depends on the bank. If the bank really, really love you, fintech, we charge 1%. Or a bank could charge up to 3%. You see, so there's a huge gap there. But that's nothing to do with the markup. So what that means is if you go in and you go to a cash point to pay, okay, you get charged not the FX from your bank, but extra charge. And I think they call it DCC, dynamic currency exchange or dynamic currency conversion. So what that means is if you decide that you want to pay in the local currency, then they charge you the local currency, which could be, 5%. And that's it. That's a cut. Or if you decide that you're going to stick with your bank or pay the exchange of your bank, because for some reason you want to see the amounts go show up in your account, they'll show you the amount, but they'll charge you 1% to 3% plus an extra 5%. So you could end up, getting charged 8% on 2,500. That's about $200, which is crazy compared to 1% that you'd have been charged of 23, right? Bonus max. So in truth, I think we need to be careful. Look out when you go for charging, when you go for traveling, look out for local balance, local currency. What does that mean? If you're in the USA and you're traveling to Switzerland, okay? In the USA, travel to Switzerland and you go up to the till point and you'd like to pay, they'll ask you home currency or local currency. Take the local currency, whatever it is. In this case, Switzerland is Swiss franc. Click on Swiss francs. Yeah. If you click on US dollar, you're going to be charged up to 8% on that. Clear. That's it. So take that. In fact, if you get that, just keep away from this video. You don't even have to continue. All right. And that's it. My message is passed. Stay local. Take the local currency where you are, and that's the easiest way. Otherwise, you get charged 1% or 3% from your bank, and you get charged up to 5%. that comes in from Visa, MasterCard, the networks. Okay, watch my video on networks. So the networks could charge a fee. So they'll charge that on your bank charges, and it comes up to about 8%. Look this up. 8% is what you could get charged, which again, people go traveling, they come back and they're like, whoa, these are expensive. So that's why. And then the question now becomes, what are other ways you can save money? Okay, well, what are the worst ways? I've seen worst ways. Okay, and I'm going to mention a few worst ways I've seen. So number one is you go, you withdraw 2005. You talk to CB, you're going to go to withdraw 2000 from your bank. What if you go to an ATM point? An ATM is an automatic teller machine or something. So basically, there's a box that is on the wall, is loaded with cash. Someone loads it with cash in terms of logic, logistics. So someone loads it with cash, which you're going to pay money for if you're not from that country, okay? And then you pay that, and then also your bank charges you as well. So if you go to withdraw money from ATM point, in trouble. That's a lot of fees. You get paid up to $5, £5 charge per ATM withdrawal. I want to talk about fintechs in a minute because there's ways around that by using a fintech bank. You know, again, you might pay fees, but those fees are nothing if you travel a lot. The point is one, avoid ATM machines if you can. Okay, that's it. Avoid it as much as possible. You get charged by withdrawing currencies. If you really, really need to withdraw money, you withdraw it once. So you get your cut, you get your punishment once and for all. Otherwise, every time you hit that machine, you're going to be charged. Okay, that's one way. Avoid ATMs where possible. And then if you look at it, so I talked about the fees, right? So that's about, $5, right? Give or take. Yeah, believe it, it's about $5. Now, if you go to an ATM machine 6 times, that's $30 just to withdraw cash. No matter what country you're in, right? If you go to an ATM, you're paying the local fees there and you have to pay. So that is one thing you need to avoid. I've seen another one. Yeah, when you go to the airports, right? So the teller machines, I'm not going to call any names, but there are tellers where you can also exchange cash. Yeah, I remember when I was coming to Ireland as well, moving from Nigeria to Ireland as a kid. I think I moved at 17. I was born in Ireland. You can't tell from the accent. But I moved to Ireland about 17, 18, and straight from come off in the seminary. Effectively, I was going to go and I had to withdraw cash. Well, I think I paid cash. You have to go to a place, a kiosk. And those kiosk guys, they charge up to 10% commission, which is crazy. So avoid them. That's the truth. Right now, I think you can take it down to, you'd get about, again, they charge, I can tell you they charge 10%. That's it. If you're lucky, you probably get just below 10%, but 10% withdrawal commission to exchange the currency is crazy. So avoid them. So I've told you already, avoid ATM machines, teller machines, or exchange kiosks at the airports. They are crazy, right? ATM machines wherever outside your country, avoid it. Avoid that as well. Um, what's the other point again? Again, I've told you always pay in local currency. That's easy, okay? Then always fintechs, right? So we talked about fintechs earlier. So fintechs are not banks in the sense that they are meant to allow you convenience. So we are a fintech. So convenience. Think of fintechs, think of convenience. So the earlier days, fintechs used to help you open bank accounts. And that was how fintechs came around because banks would have to force you to sit there and go into a branch and then fill in your paperwork and everything, which was a pain. And now fintechs came in because you could do everything remotely through the phone, through some sort of connection to the cloud. And that's how we came around. So now again, convenience, you can open bank accounts from your phone. Well, it became better now because now you can also open bank accounts and make payments as well with your rings, without having your cash or card around. So that's where fintechs come in. And for that, I think generally, again, we're not expensive, I can tell you. General fintechs have a stick of being expensive. So typical fintech, if you look at, Mercury or N26 or Revolut, all these guys across Europe, there are a few as well in Nigeria, there are a few in South Africa, all these fintechs, they charge about 5%. They charge nothing, but they'll charge you about $5, $10, per month, if not more as well. Revolut, they charge a lot more, which I think is crazy if you look at just the fact that you're making payments. I've told you already, your bank is not free. So fintech charging you those fees are actually what your bank will charge you, although it's hidden. So what that means then is as a fintech would actually provide you an option to spend money abroad. I know specifically quite a few would go in and say, okay, if you're traveling to Mexico, you can buy and convert Mexico now at the interbank change. Interbank change is basically the FX rate the banks use against each other, which is different from the FX rate you and I would get against the bank if I wasn't a fintech owner. Or if I went to a bank on the street, they charge me as anyone on the street, which is expensive. Okay, so the point is fintech to fintechs. We try and give that extra convenience to customers. And for that price, you pay a monthly fee. So in this case, if you were traveling in 2005, you just paid $200 just on this one transaction that you did because you converted with your bank in not in the local currency, in the home currency. If you did that, you've lost $200. So in truth, what would happen then is if you go into a fintech, you go into a fintech, they can convert your currency for you on your phone. You get there and you can spend in local currency. And for us, I think we're still working on this. I think we should be launching this next week, where you can actually convert it to any currency you want. I mean, a few of my customers travel a lot. So if you travel with your ring, you can go in and then decide what country you're going. If you're going to, Thailand, okay, you can go in and withdraw, and make sure you convert, from the US dollar to Thai baht on the app. And then from the app, you can go ahead and spend in Thai baht in your local, or when you arrive there, which would be the local currency Thai baht, and you avoid those FX charges because you would have done the charges upfront where you converted your US dollar to Thai baht. And so that's key. Again, if you wanted to avoid fees from the bank, another way is to go with a fintech. The fintech app would usually give you those FX rates that are better than the bank. And then when you do that, you can spend in the local currency, right? So if you went into the shop to spend, it would show the local currency instead of your home currency. The home currency will be where you're coming from. The local currency is where you are. Always pick the local. Okay. If your bank doesn't give you the local, if the cash doesn't give you the local, get a fintech app, a fintech ring, where you can pay in the local currency. That will save you money. And then lastly, then obviously is, like I said, is just avoid weekend conversions where possible. So if for some reason you really need the cash, okay, and if for some reason you really need to withdraw cash in an ATM, don't do it over the weekend. Because weekends cost even more. And that's because the markets are not open, right? So the markets are open Monday to Friday. And so what that means then, if you're going over the weekend, you're giving you a markup on the weekend charges, which is expensive. Fintech won't. So try and avoid that. And there are a few things in between which, I wouldn't really recommend. There's crypto. So you could use crypto and use the whole stablecoin approach. But to me, I think, some countries would accept stablecoin, but it's still fairly new in my opinion. And watch my video on what I think about cryptos, personally. Okay. But before of my customers who want to do that, if you wanted to, I still think it's early days because of the gas fees. It's a lot of gas fees involved, a lot of uncertainties in exactly how much you're going to get at the end of the day. Even with the stable coins, you still have to pay gas fees, you still have to pay withdrawal fees when the customer is withdrawing that money. So I think it's still early days to recommend that. I definitely wouldn't recommend, again, going to an ATM machine as much as possible. I wouldn't recommend getting cash, although you can get cash from your bank before you travel. But I wouldn't recommend that either, just because of the risk of walking around the cash. Cash is king, I agree. But so are criminals as well. Criminals are king. They can see your cash wherever you come from. Your pocket will always give you away, but that's huge. You get a bag, the bag could be snatched. But no one's going to snatch your ring. If you're not drunk, if you're not out careless with your phone, no one's going to snatch your phone. To snatch your phone, then you should have a payment ring, which is what we're trying to do. Yeah. So that's it then. Again, just to summarize, plan ahead, avoid FXs as much as possible, avoid ATM machines, avoid agents, any teller or cash point, and more importantly, stick to the local. Get the local currency, pay with the local currency. That's your cheapest to avoid charges. Thank you. Bye.